The Essence of Meditation. Chapter 3, Brain Games. Suppose that a mad scientist removes a person's brain from the body, suspends it in a vat of life-sustaining liquid, and connects its neurons by wires to a supercomputer that provides it with electrical impulses identical to those that the brain normally receives from the sensory organs, including the eyes, the ears, the tongue, and so on. The computer would then be simulating reality, including appropriate responses to the brain's own output, and the disembodied brain would continue to have perfectly normal conscious experiences, such as those of a person with an embodied brain, without these being related to objects or events in the real world. The question is, can the brain realize that it is living in a virtual reality? After some careful thought, most people would reply in the negative because the brain in the vat receives the same signals as the brain in the skull, which is the only way they both communicate with the outside world. In other words, from the brain's point of view, it is completely unable to determine whether it is inside a skull or a vat. That is Gilbert Harman's famous brain in a vat thought experiment, which is a contemporary version of the argument given in Hindu Maya illusion, Plato's allegory of the cave, Zhuangzi's butterfly dream, and the evil demon in René Descartes' meditations on first philosophy. That idea has also influenced many science fiction novels and movies, such as The Matrix and Inception. You may have noticed that I called the above experiment a thought experiment, which does not refer to its philosophical content, but to the fact that it must be carried out in the imagination because it cannot be performed in the real world. In the brain in a vat example, irrespective of whether current science and technology can make it happen, moral and legal restrictions would not allow us to actually perform the experiment. But believe it or not, we individually experience many similar scenarios almost every day. For example, after falling asleep, you lose some or all of your hearing, vision, smell, taste, and touch. The skeletal muscles of your limbs are paralyzed as well. That is because the sensory nerves, also known as the afferent nerves, and the motor nerves, also known as the efferent nerves, are gradually shut down during sleep. These sensory and motor nerves can be sensed and controlled by the mind, which is unique to animals, so they are called animal nerves, also known as somatic nerves. In contrast to animal nerves, the nerves that cannot be controlled by the mind continue to work during sleep. They connect the unconscious brain to the internal organs, regulate them, and keep the blood circulating to assure the body's basal metabolism. Although these nerves are also controlled by the brain, the unconscious brain, it seems that they can work automatically and independently. So they are called vegetative nerves, also known as autonomic nerves. In other words, every night you go through a brain in a vat experiment after falling asleep, as if the brain has been removed from the body, cutting off animal nerves, and put into a vat of life-sustaining liquid to maintain its physiological activity, keeping vegetative nerves. The bad news is that your brain goes into a dormant state during sleep and loses consciousness. If you could stay conscious during sleep, you would be able to experience whatever the brain in a vat experiment experiences. So, is there a way to stay conscious during sleep? The answer is yes, and that is meditation. From the previous chapter, you know that meditation lets your body fall asleep, while keeping your mind awake. When the meditating body falls asleep, just as in normal sleep, the animal nerves in your body gradually shut down, while the vegetative nerves continue working. In other words, meditation is a perfect way to simulate the brain in a vat experiment because the meditating brain and the brain in a vat brain both cut off the animal nerves from the brain, while keeping the brain and the vegetative nerves active. By recognizing that, you not only see the similarities between meditation and the brain in a vat experiment, but you also have a better understanding of the various sensations you may experience during meditation. For example, while meditating, you may hear sounds that you normally don't hear. Or you may smell things that don't exist. Or you may feel cold or hot when the temperature is perfectly normal. Or you may feel paralysis in your limbs. Or you may feel that the body and mind are integrated into one. All these sensations are nothing but normal phenomena that occur when the sensory nerves and the motor nerves in your body shut down. Of course, you can call all these phenomena hallucinations, and you would be absolutely right. However, the biggest inspiration that the brain in a vat experiment brings to us may be that there is no clear distinction between fantasy and reality. In other words, at the end of the day, everything is just a game between the nerves and the brain. As a matter of fact, even for the brain that is reading this essay at this very moment, you cannot be 100% sure that it is a brain in a skull or a brain in a vat. If you have read this article to this point, if you are still interested in the concept of a brain in a vat, and if curiosity drives you to find the truth for yourself, what are you waiting for? Start practicing meditation now. It is worth mentioning that if you have just started practicing meditation, a sore back and pains in the legs may be the biggest problems you will face at that stage. Please do not worry, and do not be discouraged. The good news is that with more and more practice, your sensory nerves will be shut down deeper and deeper in your body, and you will feel lighter and lighter, so that eventually you will have no more soreness or pain. In fact, if you continue practicing, one day all the sensory nerves will be shut down completely. And when that happens, not only will you have no more body pain, but you will no longer feel your body at all, as if it suddenly disappeared, leaving only the consciousness that pervades the universe. That may sound unreal and unbelievable. However, from ancient times to the present day, there have been countless people who have entered that state and experienced that magical moment. The only difference is that some people call it an out-of-body experience, some call it an immortal ascension, some call it a near-death experience, and some call it nirvana rebirth. Name it what you like. But if you look closely, you will see that most of those people are talking about the same thing. If you look even closer, you will find many similarities and coincidences among the theories of the various factions. For example, Buddhists divide the realms of being into three worlds: the world of desire, the world of form, and the world of formlessness. Not surprisingly, these three worlds seamlessly correspond to the three states of meditation. To be specific, the so-called desire world is the normal state of a human being, who is full of various desires. The so-called form world is the state in which people have less and less desire after the sensory nerves shut down. That is because, as the ancients believed, all desires come from the senses. If hearing, vision, smell, taste, and touch were shut down one by one, all desires would disappear with them. The form here refers to the human body, so the form world means that although people have no desire in that state, the human body still exists. As for the formless world, it exists when the sensory nerves are completely shut down, the body no longer exists, and the meditator enters the highest state of the consciousness-only mode. In summary, we have almost found a perfect way to simulate the brain in a vat experiment. But it seems that we are still missing the final step, which is to find a supercomputer and connect it to your brain. For most people, that is the most critical and most important step, because only when that is achieved can you make any of your dreams come true instantly through some pre-programmed code. Unfortunately, at the present time, such supercomputers only exist in science fiction novels and movies. However, if you think again, so-called dreams are just another name for human desires. If meditation can really lead you to go beyond the desire world into the form world, and eventually into the formless world where only consciousness exists, that means you have already gotten rid of the shackles of sensory enjoyment and worldly interests. It also means that you can obtain absolute spiritual freedom and liberation without any external signals to stimulate you. So, the bottom line is that meditation is all you need. Forget about computers.